In an industry built on obedience, where silence is often the price of survival, how far can someone go by simply saying no? Can integrity thrive in a world that rewards submission and punishes defiance? Deborah Winger's story doesn't begin with a scandal or a breakdown. It begins with raw talent, an unshakable sense of self, and the quiet, dangerous belief that truth matters more than fame. She wasn't the kind of actress who needed to scream to be heard. Her eyes, her pauses, her presence alone told entire stories. And for a time, that honesty made her a star. But in Hollywood, honesty doesn't come without consequences. By the early 1980s, Deborah Winger had already climbed to the heights most actors spend a lifetime chasing. 2 Academy Award nominations. Praise from top directors in both America and Europe. Comparisons to legends like Jane Fonda and Meryl Streep. But while others celebrated their ascent, Winger's rise was marked by discomfort. She wasn't interested in playing the game, smiling when she didn't mean it, or softening her edges to make herself more likable. And from the beginning, people noticed. They called her difficult, arrogant, unmanageable. But they never called her fake. On the set of Urban Cowboy, Winger's early relationship with John Travolta revealed just how quickly things could turn toxic in a world built on appearances. Travolta, still riding the wave of Saturday Night Fever, didn't approach Winger as a partner but as a question mark. His line of inquiry felt less like conversation and more like interrogation, poking at her past, her background, her worth. And though their chemistry on screen was electric, off-screen things turned dark. During a love scene, Travolta slapped her so hard he cracked a tooth. He never apologized. Instead, he proposed to her shortly after. Winger didn't need time to think. She said no. Not because she wasn't drawn to him, but because she knew what it felt like to be hurt and silenced, and she wasn't going to live that way, not even for love. That early experience followed her like a shadow. It taught her that vulnerability, even when it's real and painful, is often met with indifference or control in the Hollywood machine. On the surface, her career kept rising, but behind the camera, Winger was already beginning to feel the cost of her convictions. Working with Richard Gere on An Officer and a Gentleman brought her another Oscar nod, but also more emotional distance. The audience saw passion. She saw a wall. Gere was cold, unreachable. Their relationship was professional at best, chilly at worst. Louis Gossett Jr., their co-star, confirmed it. They barely spoke unless the camera was rolling. And the real damage didn't come from Gere. It came from the men in charge. Director Taylor Hackford and producer Don Simpson dismissed Winger's ideas, criticized her appearance, and demanded she take diuretics just to reduce facial puffiness. There was no concern for her health, no room for discussion. Her face, her body, were props to be altered for someone else's vision. When she finally said no to a scene she believed betrayed her character, production halted. Hackford exploded. But later, he admitted she was right. Still, in Hollywood, being right doesn't always matter. Especially if you're a woman. That moment sealed her fate with those men. She never worked with either of them again. And she didn't speak publicly about it. She didn't need to. Her silence carried more weight than any interview ever could. Years later, Winger signed on to A League of Their Own, a film she believed would honor the real stories of women athletes during World War II. She trained seriously for the role, committed herself entirely. But then came the casting news. Madonna had joined. To many, it was a dream pairing. To Winger it was the end. She left the project quietly. No bitterness, no public scene. She simply knew the film had changed from what she originally signed up for. Winger didn't look down on Madonna personally, but she questioned the artistic direction the film was taking. Her decision wasn't about ego, it was about truth. And she made peace with the fact that walking away would mean missing out on a hit. She believed in what couldn't be measured in ticket sales or applause. Her clashes weren't limited to men. On terms of endearment, the tension between her and Shirley MacLaine was legendary. Audiences saw a moving portrait of a mother and daughter, but behind the scenes, there was friction, even animosity. MacLaine was old school, polished, commanding. Winger was raw, unpredictable, fierce. When MacLaine missed her mark during a take, Winger didn't hide her frustration. Her response became infamous, provocative and bold. But even in the chaos, there was a strange respect. Winger later compared their relationship to 2 boxers, rivals in the ring, but equals. They didn't like each other, but they understood each other. And maybe that understanding made the film even more powerful. On the sheltering sky, Winger found herself beside John Malkovich, a man she described not as a partner, but as a runway model. His focus was external. His performance, she felt, lacked soul. For Winger, acting was about emotion, about connection. If it wasn't real, it wasn't worth it. Her scenes with Malkovich left her cold. Not angry, just disconnected. She didn't return for another project with him. She didn't criticize him publicly. She just knew what she needed from her craft, and what she couldn't accept. Through it all, Winger kept getting roles. Kept earning praise. But the offer started to feel the same. Shallow, repetitive, uninspired. Hollywood had no interest in the kinds of stories she wanted to tell. Not unless she made herself smaller, softer, quieter. And she refused. Director James Bridges once shut down an entire production, frustrated with her refusal to shoot a certain scene. Later, he admitted she was right. But that didn't change how people saw her. A man who stands firm is an artist. A woman who does the same is a problem. That was the equation, and it never seemed to change. By 1995, Winger had had enough. She didn't make a statement. She didn't hold a press conference. She simply told her husband, "I'm done." And that was it. She walked away. Not because she couldn't act anymore, but because acting no longer gave her what she needed. She wanted honesty, depth, challenge. Hollywood offered her none of those things. So, she chose something else. Something real. People often ask why she vanished. There was no scandal, no breakdown, no dramatic fall from grace. Just a quiet, firm decision to live differently. To stop pretending. To protect the parts of herself that Hollywood tried so hard to reshape. She wasn't the bad girl of the industry. She didn't trash hotel rooms or show up late or storm off sets. Her crime was something far more dangerous. She said no. She demanded to be seen not just as a body, not just as a performer, but as a human being with ideas, limits, and dignity. Her story echoes even louder today, in a time when more women are speaking out, standing up, and pushing back. But Winger didn't have hashtags or viral campaigns. She had only her voice, and she used it, even when no one wanted to listen. She stood alone, and that made her easy to ignore. But not easy to forget. Was Deborah Winger truly difficult? Or was she simply unwilling to betray herself for a system that rewarded silence? That's the question that lingers. Her legacy isn't defined by the role she turned down or the film she walked away from. It's defined by her refusal to become someone she wasn't. And maybe, just maybe, that kind of courage is more important than any award. If you found this story meaningful, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. There are more untold stories like this, waiting to be heard.